Welcome back to another episode of The Human Edge with your host, Scott Stolze, and myself, Patrick Somers. Listen, this episode, I think you're going to enjoy because you're going to get to hear some of the things Scott and I discuss off air, off camera in our daily discussions, weekly discussions, because we see eye to eye on a lot of things and we differ on a lot of things. And so this is one that we probably differ on more than we agree. However, I always find after Scott and I talk to each other for a little while on something, we end up finding out we have more that we're aligned on than we are different. So, Scott, again, here's episode 6. We're rocking and rolling. I'm going to turn it over to you to take us into this.
Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate it. And you're 100% right, by the way, that we do that. Once we unpack or go down the road of a topic, inevitably we're more in sync than I think either of us realized going in. But I think that's partly too because one quick note, many of us do this, the texting. You and I do a lot of, for obvious reasons, schedules and travel and location and all that, where we rely on our conversations to be based and rooted in text. Do you find it's simply because when we talk something out a little bit further, we're unearthing where we have more in common? Do you think our text conversations are still useful? What kind of role do you think that plays? And I'll tell you where we're going.
Well, our texts are great because, well, you know me, I'm very like short and to the point, and but we get the foundational context of something out there, and you send me something, I send you something. There's enough there that I can get the gist of what's going on, what your feelings are, where we might be headed with this. And there's sometimes where I'm like, I just got to call him right now because this is like this has got me hot, or this has got me curious, or I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. And there's other ones where we're back and forth, and then we eventually are like, hey, we need to get on a call about this. So they're good. The texts are great foundational starters on a topic. And you know what's great about it is you can typically, for me anyways, something will pop up, something will be in the moment, and it's a way I can immediately communicate to you or someone else about what it is. And I don't wanna get on a call now. I can't get on a call now. I don't wanna dive into this now, whether I don't have the time or the energy, but hey, check this out. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I believe. Let's come back to this. And so to me, those text messages are placeholders.
Okay, I couldn't even have asked. Patrick and I didn't plan that out. That question I just threw back at him. I couldn't have asked for a better response from you because what Patrick just shared, getting little nibbles of a topic here and there over text, and I'm sure many of you with friends or colleagues or whomever get that throughout the day, most days. So that is what many of us are getting when it comes to AI. Say you're getting ready in the morning and you have CNBC on or Fox Business or even one of the mainstream channels, and you hear a little 2 or 3 or even 5-minute segment about AI. You're getting a little taste of something. Then throughout the day, you're getting notifications on your phone or a headline, and you might read the first few paragraphs. Then you're home at night and you're able to read a little bit more. The workday is primarily over in some cases anyway. And you can read a little bit more. Maybe you watch some reels or videos. The point is that a lot of us, I know for months I was doing this, we're taking in shortened versions of content that are talking about really important topics around AI. And one thing that I've like any other topic, by the way, in business or life, a lot of us are taking in today's world because of our phones and social and whatnot, shorthand versions. But here's the thing. With AI, there's a lot that you want to learn about as you go forward. There's a lot that you want to take in and expose yourself to. And that's for you to decide what that is. Patrick and I's goal is to give you some suggestions and insights into things you want to learn, but a lot more about because it's going to impact either your life or your work, or your career, your business. But make sure you're doing that. Is the shorthand narratives that I'm seeing about AI on the news, or you get a soundbite from a CEO from one of the AI companies or a guest who's on, it's not doing this topic justice. And when I say that, it's not that their topic's not being served. Their topic, it is being served because they have talking points and an agenda. It's not doing justice to what we all need to be learning. So I don't know, as you go about your day and you're taking in little nuggets of information, are you finding that you think you're getting enough, or do you have to go back and expose yourself to more information on that? How are you looking at all this?
Well, first of all, I don't use the news and those sound bites as my source, or my only source. I I use it to kind of get a feel for what the temperature is, what the day's talking point is, what's the hot button item. But most of what I get is then diving in based on what I'm interested in and what I want to find out. And I do think that that's one of the issues we have in this country is not enough people dive in to a topic and do their own research. They listen to what is being pushed to them versus what they're going to or going after. So, but I would say, listen, the sound bites, the stuff we're hearing every day is because, what was that one movie about the news and the saying in it, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And Glenn Fry, was it Glenn Fry? That song, she can tell you about the plane crash with a gleam in her eye. People are gonna pay attention to the nasty, the dirty, the disaster, that's I mean, that's why the tabloids did so well. And now our modern tabloid is the clickbait that pops up on your computer screen and takes you down these rabbit holes. And so, look, I think what we need to realize, first of all, is when we see or hear a news clip, especially on the major networks, the 24-hour news networks, and even the local news, there is a whole production team behind that. And everything is designed to capture eyeballs, to capture attention. And boring doesn't capture attention, non controversial doesn't capture attention, and peace, love, and happiness does not capture attention most times, right? So I am aware of that, and I always take that into consideration. That said, I get drawn into that stuff. I get drawn into that stuff.
I know you as somebody. I have the benefit of knowing you very well, so I know you have that critical thinking side of your personality. And my concern is that when people aren't making enough time to really understand some of what's going on. And by the way, as you know, we can translate, I think you alluded to this a minute ago, we can translate this to any topic over, especially the last 15 years where we've gotten a lot of our news and information through phones in addition to what we see on the TV. So you could literally apply what Patrick and I are talking about theoretically to hundreds and hundreds of different topics, many of which are important to our daily lives. And then a lot of them are not at all. And we really just need to ignore. And, Patrick mentioned earlier, so he and I don't see quite the same. We don't look at certain things the same way. And I'll give you an example. And I know Patrick will add his take on this. When I see on the news and through social, so much content being devoted to things like valuation, IPOs, future earnings, future stock price, much of which, by the way, call me crazy. I don't know how, I mean, certain things you can forecast. I get it. There's formulas from a financial perspective that you can forecast numbers. I get it. But there's also a lot of unknown. We are in a time of a lot of uncertainty. So when the news is constantly pushing narratives and themes around, here's the value of, and then just fill in the blank with whatever company, whether it's AI or any other, SpaceX recently went public. And I mean, hey, if they do even half of what they're saying they're going to do, it's probably going to be worth close to what they're projecting. But I think what it's doing, Patrick, is it's distracting. And I think this is where you and I see things a little differently. My concern, and I'm not saying you don't care about this, I'm just saying you may not be as concerned now, probably because of some of your priorities. I worry that people are going to be distracted and numbed by talk of how much money certain people can and are making. And what they should be thinking about is, how am I going to use this technology to better myself, my future, my career, my family, everything at my business, everything that I'm doing. All these things that are swirling around are in some cases, I think, meant to numb us or distract us from where we really need to focus. And that is, what path am I creating? How am I going to amplify my skills using this technology? Who cares what the IPO is worth? Who cares what this tech CEO is saying about where their company will be a year from now? Where are you going to be from now as an individual? That's how I see a lot of that news and noise that's coming out today.
I'm laughing because, man, this is where, like, we get along so well because we're aligned in so many ways. And then there's other areas, like you are such a people person, right? You are such, and that's like, you're like my wife. Like, people are everything. And me, I'm just this high D. Everybody thinks I'm this grumpy dude and just focused on outcomes. And I listen to you and I know the passion you have for what you're saying, and I so appreciate it because then I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, duh, they're the CEO. What are they going to talk about? Like the rainbow? I mean, I'm like, their whole job is to build enterprise value for the business they are being paid to run and lead. And if they don't do that, they will be out of a job. Not only that, I care about the IPO price. I got in on the SpaceX IPO and I think it'll go below the IPO price. And I got money sitting waiting to buy it when it does. Cause I do believe if I'm going to bet on somebody, I'm going to bet on Elon Musk. And I do care about those things because one, I invest for my future and for my family's future. I also love business, love this whole concept of what people are able to do and what they can start and what they can build and what they can grow. And then I think about all of the people that have these stocks and these IPOs and everything like that in their retirement, in their 401k. And it's like, man, there's a lot riding on this because there is a whole country, a whole world of people that invest in these companies and are going to have their retirement built on these companies. But for me, I really get excited about business. And Elon Musk, he's such a controversial guy. Anybody that's successful is going to be controversial, right? And they're going to be hated. The more success they have, the more they're going to be hated. I remember watching the Patriots play they were St. Louis Rams at the time. They were the underdog. The Patriots were the underdog, and the Patriots beat the St. Louis Rams. And it was an upset, and it was a phenomenal game, and everybody loved the Patriots. And then as they continue to build on that success, everybody started to hate the Patriots and hate Tom Brady, right? I continued to grow on them and love on them and just was tremendous respect because they were a team of excellence. They were a team about winning. At least that's how I saw them. And I don't understand why we get to a place, we evolve to a place where the more successful somebody is, the more we hate on them. And I know I'm a little off tangent from what we originally started talking about, but as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. But the last thing I'll say is I look at a guy like an Elon Musk. Elon Musk started, I think it was PayPal, sold that, made good money. Basically risked everything he had on Tesla. Like this guy gambles, man. He just does because he believes in what he's doing. So anyways, I'm done my tangent, but that's my take on listening to the talking heads, the CEOs, the all the people out there and knowing that sure enough the headline's going to be written to lock eyeballs.
Yeah, and it's just I listen, I think Musk is fantastic. I'm pro business, pro capitalism when done ethically. I think we're better off, society is and the world are better off having people like interesting risk takers like Musk, 100%. And to your last point too, for some reason we like to tear people down and or create villains, because you're right, Tom Brady was a hero in 2002, and by the time 2019 rolled around, he was a villain to many people. That's some of that human nature stuff. But no, I want to see. I think there's a happy medium between where you and I are, because on the one hand, all those things that you made really good points, and a lot of people, whether it's through investments, future retirement plans, and just things that are relevant to the business or job they have, things like the market matter, things like interest rates matter, things like what the potential for a certain IPO, it matters. I'm not discounting all that. But at the same time, I think there's so much, we're so obsessed with money, and it's understandable. I get it, because the world revolves around money. There is no question. If you want to get anything done in this world, you need money. So don't listen to the people who want to take it away from others. Just earn as much money as you can so you can go out and make a difference. But still, we are obsessed with it. And I think it takes the eyeball off, it takes the focus off a lot of things we need to really be concentrating on. Like I said, what about your own skills? What about, what are you doing to bring value to people in your job or your business today that's going to help you grow so quickly, so fast, so well that you're not even going to have to worry about who's in office or what interest rates or the Dow Jones is saying. Because last thing is, I am passionate about this topic. If the stock market goes up and things are over 50,000 and 401ks are looking great and this one individual stock price is really good and GDP is looking good and unemployment's down, that's great. But are those key indicators, Patrick? This is part rhetorical. Are those data points going to save somebody's job? Are those data points going to pay the bill when you go to the gas station or the grocery store? Are those data points going to allow people to wake up every day excited, or are they going to about what they're going to create in their life and their work, or are they going to be so stressed that they're fighting with their spouse, they're taking it out on their kids, and they're just not they're misguided. They're just not focusing where they because I think these narratives sometimes point people in the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, okay. I get what you're saying there, and yes, I agree with a lot of it. To me, look, I look at it like this. First of all, if you're tuning into some of these channels, you expect to hear this stuff, right? If you want to hear the other stuff, tune into the Hallmark channel or something like that. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
I like
But
that, actually.
the the look, business, you look at business and a lot of people tune in. Yeah, they like we as a people are so emotional. We talked about this in the previous episode, emotion. The That's why the stock market moves in such crazy ways. It has nothing to do what's actually happening in the world or in the business, I should say, the individual businesses. It's all emotion. People respond on emotion and they can I mean, you look, like him or hate him, Trump can move markets just by what he says, right? He can alter people's focus. He has the media by the tail because if he wants their attention over there, he knows how to get their attention over there. And so I'm sharing that because now you tune into the markets and you hear people that talk about the markets and they're watching it and they're up and they're down and they're well, look, that to me, that's a reflection of their life. They're responding to the what they're watching on TV and the markets and the news stories, how they respond to everything. Because to me, like if I woke up this morning and oh, we're down this and we're up, okay, who cares? Let's see where we are tomorrow. Like I personally focus on what I can control, right? And I can't control the markets. But I won't let the markets control me. So I've accepted like here's a very liberating concept if you can lose everything short of your family, I've said this before, and you have the attitude, I'll start over tomorrow, or maybe I'll have a pity party for 24 hours and then I'll start over. That is incredibly liberating. That's incredibly empowering. But that's a mindset you have to have. And I'm leading into, what are you doing? The question you asked, what are you doing to develop you to this, to that? That's an individual choice. That's an individual choice. And I get very frustrated when I see tremendous talent being wasted, and I see it every day. Every day. I know you do too. We all do if we're paying attention, and the excuses people make. And then so to me the whole what's going on in the news and with the markets and talk, they're supposed to be talking about that stuff. Now, we're not going to hear the stories. We will you will hear the stories, job creation that comes from the AI and the technology in these businesses, also what some of these businesses are doing. A lot of times you don't hear the good the businesses are doing because the businesses don't necessarily shout it from the rooftops. Some do. Some strategically take those opportunities, but you don't necessarily hear everything that's happening. If we go and we put in an air conditioning system for a family in need, except in limited cases, nobody's going to know we did that except the team because it's the right thing to do, right? And so people, well, how come you don't have that on the news? How come we don't hear that stuff? Well, because it's just what we do because we're blessed and fortunate enough to do it. And I think that that can be said of much larger companies and public companies as well. What is getting eyeballs at the end of the day is the what's going on in the business. What's my future look like if I invest in this business? And other people, and then there's other people like me that it's just a game, right? I kept my sanity because a long time ago, not too long ago, but I just took an attitude like, listen, you will not defeat me. Take everything. I will wake up and start over. And it's just a game. And the dollars are how we keep score. And you got to play the game better than the next guy. And if you can do that, then you'll be okay. And so that's a way, that's personal development. That's personal development. That's how do you focus on yourself, and so I may have gone off on a tangent there based on what you were saying, but to me, I can't look at the news. I can't be that can't be my source for those answers.
This episode, two things. By the way, just I'll reiterate that this has literally happened. Patrick what we were alluding to early in the episode, I'll give him a take on something like we've shared today, and he'll at least 3 times in recent months, he'll just write back to me, yeah. So if I'm talking about like the market or something I saw on the news, that's not literally how he said, but it's essentially what he's saying. So this is very true. This is how it works. More importantly, this episode, this is a great contrast because I'm so glad the way this played out. Listen to Patrick in this episode. I truly am. What you heard from me is the real Scott in terms of my outlook on some of these topics, but it's only because I really believe so strongly that people do need to not only be critical thinkers, but thinking for themselves instead of allowing other devices, platforms, media entities, and even CEOs form the opinions for them. I really want to encourage people, and if you do anything out of this episode, please listen to Patrick because this is a really good contrast. Patrick was talking about logic and versus emotion, or logic and emotion. In this episode, I'm the emotional one, which doesn't always serve you well in business. It serves me well in life in terms of being a person who's productive and valuable to many around me, but it's not going to serve my bank account to be emotional all the time. Patrick's done really well because he knows how to compartmentalize that part of things and just go forward. Like he's calling it a competition or a game, and you wake up and you go forward and you're measured by, say, dollars and dollar value in the bank. So honestly, Patrick, I really appreciate that we were able to share what is usually done in text with our audience. And I truly mean when I say, while Patrick and I do view a lot of this differently in some respects, and I'm not into news, I don't believe what most of those people are telling us, but I do like to stay informed. Listen to the steps that he takes in your own development, because if you really do want to win, both financially, personally, physically, and emotionally and mentally, that's what he's saying.
Well, thank you, Scott. And you said something about you don't listen or take your advice or whatever from the news and those places. And I will tell you, to get this back to kind of the AI perspective, I always tell my kids and my wife, if you see something on social media, verify it through other sources. Verify it through other sources, right? At least 3 sources. Same thing with if you hear something on the news, verify it from other sources. If you just get your news from Fox, if you just get your news from CNN, MSNBC, they're all going to have a different take on a story. What's important is you get all the takes as much as practical, and you basically form your own conclusion based on the input of those. Too many of us we find the source that most aligns with our belief, and we take that, and that's all we look at, right? And so with AI, the rise of AI, the rapid rise of AI, it's going to be even more critical that we look to other sources, other AIs, things outside of AI to just verify. As Reagan said, trust but verify, right? And so, and I will tell you a little practical advice. If you're not already doing this, when you use an AI, everybody's going to have one platform they favor. They interact with it the best, but use multiple sources, query multiple platforms, see what see how alike and how different the responses may be. And a lot of times it's the same information as it should be, if it's accurate, and it's pulling from the same resources and data, but some platforms may serve it to you in a way that you comprehend better or can relate to a little bit better. So there's certain things that I'm just going to go to ChatGPT for. There's other things I'm going to Claude for, right? And then there's other things I go to Grok for. Those are the top 3 that I use. There's some other ones I use as well, a little bit more obscure, and use them for very specific things. And I know I at a point now where I know based on what I want or what I need, which one to go to first. And so I just wanted to share that with anybody that's listening or watching on YouTube, where you can find us, that treat AI as a tool, not as a god.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought us back around to AI. I'm going to leave one AI thought too. Well, it's a part 1 and part 2 to wrap my part of this conversation. Is number 1, it's July 1st that Patrick and I are recording this. Today, Alex Karp CEO and co-founder of Palantir, was on CNBC this morning. I had it on when I was getting my day started, and it is must-watch TV. If you're into business, if you're into I strongly recommend. Your life's not going to be necessarily worse if you miss it, but I strongly recommend look up Alex Karp, CNBC morning show. He was a guest on for about 16 minutes, and it's fascinating. I'll leave it at that. Watch it. The other thing I'll say to Patrick's point too is about verifying and getting different sources. When you hear, please, I really am asking, when you hear talk about AI impacting jobs in a negative way, whether it's job loss or loss of responsibility, opportunity, please, definitely, pardon the cliche, but wear that critical thinking hat, because that's not really what's going on yet in a lot of places. There's definitely going to be continued evolution and change. And some jobs are going away. Some already are. But it's, to Patrick's point, to our point, really, it's what you control. And when you're hearing this talk, because remember, a lot of people who talk about the doom and gloom of job loss, they have an incentive to talk that way. There's a reason they're talking about it in that regard. So do your homework. Please do your homework. And most important, focus on what you can control in your business, your job, your company, with your employer. Bring value, learn these tools, leverage them to amplify what you're already good at and help other people solve problems. And in most cases, you'll be good.
Yes. Well said. Well said. And at the end of the day, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself first. Self-educate. It's critical part of our evolution and our development. And I believe that when we are at our best, it's when we are learning, when we are discovering something new, essentially when we are out on the skinny branches, right? Nobody wants to get out on the skinny branches, but that's where growth happens. And so, whatever you're into, wherever you are on your AI journey, get out on the skinny branches, get out where others fear to go, develop yourself, invest in yourself. And Scott's going to like this, invest in other people, bring somebody along with you, lift somebody up. There is enough need out there that you don't have to look far and you don't have to do much to bring a smile to somebody's face. It's amazing the simple act of holding a door open for somebody. Those little things, a smile. When you smile at somebody, they mirror you and they smile back. They can't help it. We're wired that way. So, as Blue Oyster Cult said, don't fear the reaper. Don't fear AI. Don't fear AI. Don't bury your head in the sand. You don't have to love it and embrace it and make it everything about you. Just be aware of it. And so, as I close out here, I'm going to ask everybody if you check out takecontrolai.com. That's our website. Some surveys there, some helpful information. There's a newsletter you can sign up for. We're not asking for anything. Go check it out. Let us know what you think. Hey, if you liked this show, if you would rate us, give us a review. If you take the time to write something out, that is so helpful for the algorithm. We're talking AI. You all know the algorithms and the power of the algorithm. So that would be gratefully appreciated. And of course, we love feedback too. You can email us through the website. You can find us online and check us out. Give us your feedback. Thank you for the support. Until next time, stay connected. All right.